Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our final day of our first virtual Summer Institute for NYSAFELT. We're ready for reimagining back to school with Wendy and Val. I'm Jenny Delfini, chair of the Summer Institute this year, hosting today along with our executive director, John Carlino, and helping behind the scenes are our executive committee, Leslie Pedleck, Sally Barnes, Marissa Coulihan, and Valerie Greer. The session will be recorded. Please use the chat feature for questions as well as comments. Your participation is encouraged. Additionally, if you're tweeting or posting on social media, include @NYSAFELT and the hashtag NYSAFELTSI, along with our presenters' handles, which we'll put in the chat box, so we can see and share all of your thoughts. Congratulations on this final day to our Summer Institute Scholarship winners, Leo Banjo, Marie Caju, Nora Diaz Guevara, Katie Johnsanti, and Yen Eli. And it's my pleasure to introduce you to our presenters for the next hour, Valerie Greer and Wendy Mercado. Valerie currently sits on the NYSAFELT Executive Committee as our Secretary-Treasurer. Wendy is currently an officer for the ACTFL Language Learning for Children SIG, as well as the New York City, Long Island Regional Director for NYSAFELT. They both began teaching in Bayshore in 1998 and have been there together ever since. They have presented multiple times for LILT, NYSAFELT, NECTFL, and ACTFL. In 2017, Val and Wendy also presented sessions for NYCAFELT and ACTFL. They were named Best of New York for their session at the 2017 NYSAFELT Annual Conference and Best of NECTFL for 2017. I'm so excited to see what they have planned. We asked them to present on movement and games, and between asking and today, the world has changed dramatically, and they rose to the challenge and said, hey, let's figure this out together. So I'm really excited to see what these two brilliant ladies are bringing to the table for us today. Thanks, Val. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you so much, Jenny. So yeah, we're really excited to be here with you guys today. We had to kind of rethink our normal presentation mindset, and hopefully you guys will enjoy what we came up with for today.
If you've seen us present before, you know that we like to have our presentations be super interactive. We put you in groups and we want you to practice everything that we present. And we're gonna still continue doing that even though we're all virtual.
All right, so Jenny told you about us already. You know, we've been teaching, we're going into our 23rd year. We learn a lot from presenting, which is I think why we present so much, because we want to hear from you guys too. So please put things in the chat, you know, ask questions. We want to hear from you guys as well, because you guys teach us a lot. So for today, we picked a couple of activities. We didn't want to overwhelm you guys, and we didn't want to rush, and we want you guys to really get a feel for what it is that we're presenting. So we picked some of our favorites. We'll talk about how we do them in a traditional setting and how we've changed them or how we've adapted them. And then at the end, we'll take some questions and comments. But feel free to put them in the chat along the way.
Because the issue now is, you know, Wendy and I are looking at our boxes of games and task cards and activities that we've created over the years. And we're not going to be able to use any of that stuff this year because no one's going to be allowed to touch anything. So anything that you would pass out task cards or work in a group or move around the room or go in the hallway, we can't do that anymore. So what we did was we reimagined some of our favorite activities. So we have the traditional version. Then how can we do this still in the classroom if we are in the classroom or virtually at home? So it would work both ways.
Yeah. So let's get right into it without further ado, because we want to have fun today. So we need you guys to have a couple of materials for the session. We need you to have a piece of paper, something to write with, and ideally for later on, if you could have another device, that would be great. Otherwise, just have another tab window. But when you get into breakouts, it's nice to have, I find that it's nice to have a second device so that you can still see the people that you're in the breakout room with. So we'll give you a second to gather those materials together. So just a scrap piece of paper, and when you get it, divide it into 5 boxes so that it looks like that.
You could just draw the boxes on if you want.
Yeah, so I made mine and it looked like this. Like, I'm not a Picasso, I really do not, I cannot draw well, but this is what mine looked like. So just take a piece of a strip, divide it into 5.
And make sure that the boxes are big enough for you to draw in.
All right, we're good? Moving on, awesome, thank you for the thumbs up. All right, so here's what we want you to do. This is picture bingo. I've given you a list of 18 words. Pick 5 and illustrate one of those words in each box.
Now, of course, in our classroom, we forgot to say this. We're going to be presenting everything in English today.
Oh, yes.
In our classroom, these words would not be up in English. They'd be up in French or in Spanish, whatever the target language is. But we always present our activities in English. because we know we all speak different languages. So we want everybody to understand and get a clear vision of what it's supposed to look like. So pick 5, illustrate it the best you can. As you saw, Wendy's not a Picasso, neither am I.
Not at all.
And this game we can do whether we're teaching from home and we're in a Google Meet or Zoom, or we can do it inside of our socially distanced classrooms if we go back to our hybrid setting. So it'll work both ways.
So this would have to be done though as a live lesson. You wouldn't be able to do this asynchronously.
This would have to be live.
All right. Oh, I see one. All right, cool. Thank you, Rachel. Oh, all right. Stephanie's ready to go. All right. I see a few more. Thank you. Thank you. So here's how we're going to do this activity. Basically, we're going to call out the words. If you have your drawing, so let's say you drew cherries, okay? And I say cherries. The only way that you can rip that off is if it's on either end. If you drew cherries in the middle and I say cherries, you can't do anything with that.
So it has to be on the end. And it doesn't matter if you eventually get to cherries. The only way you could rip it off if it was in the middle is if we said cherries again. So words will be repeated.
So the point is for the students to understand multiple times in the target language. Are we good? All right, so you're only ripping off from the ends.
And then you have a bingo when you've ripped your entire paper. So if you rip your paper first and every piece has been ripped off, then you can raise your hand and call bingo.
Okay. Are we good? All right. You want to watch them on the grid view? Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to say potato. So if you have potato on either end, you can rip it off.
So just
tear it right off.
Tear it right off if you have potato on either end.
Lemon.
Well, let me specify. So now that you've ripped one off, you would have a new end. So you're always going by the end, even when you ripped something off.
So I said potato and then I said lemon. Ice cream. Pepper. Potato. Radish. Cheese. Lemon.
You keep repeating ones you've already said.
Yes, that's the point.
Okay.
Because then you might have it in the middle. It might be your new end.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yep. Mushroom. Cherries. Banana. Steak. Chicken. Cupcake. Watermelon. Cheese. Chicken. Lemon. Radish. Ice cream.
Bingo.
Hey.
Who had bingo? Who is that?
Amy St. John.
Yep.
Nice. All right.
So then we would go and we would check that you had the right ones, have the
You have
kids
to prove it.
back in French or Spanish, and it's like a zero prep activity. I mean, all you have to do is make a Google slide with the list of words in the target language, and they don't need to touch each other's papers. You don't need to touch any of their papers, and it works in this new situation.
This is one that I keep a bunch of these in my desk, and sometimes I'm looking at you ever just like write your lesson plans, you get like bored, you're like, I don't really want to do that activity. So this is just kind of fun for me to keep it in my desk. I pull out the paper when I get bored, or I see that we just need a change of pace, something different, and the kids get excited. And I do set a timer, like you have to have your drawings done in X amount of minutes, because I don't want, some of them want to be super detailed. I had a student once take out colored pencils. I was like, no, this is not the time or place. But sometimes I'll give it to them and I'll say, for homework, draw these X amount of pictures. And then they'll come in with it ready, and then we'll play the next day. So there's a couple different ways that you can handle it. But this is just like a fun little thing that we could do, that we found that we can even do if we had to do synchronous lessons online, because you can have them show you their pictures.
Yeah, because they can just hold it up to the camera. Do you have any questions about this activity before we move on to the next one? Anything? I'm just checking the chat box. Okay,
All right.
doesn't look like we have anything right now.
Cool. Okay, so for the remaining activities, I built a Google website. So if you want to follow along, you can either scan this, you can click on the link. I believe I even hyperlinked the, oh, no, you guys don't have this. So yeah, so scan or type in that website, and that'll bring you to a website that we built specifically for this webinar to help us out with some of the things that we have going on. So I'm going to leave that up for a minute or two and give you a chance to scan that or open that website.
And put it in the chat if you wanna click the link in the chat.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I also put the PDF version of this slideshow in the shared folder for you. So you can access materials in there as well. All right, moving on. So around the classroom.
So this is an activity we presented before. That's an activity that we do all the time. And as you can see in the picture there, we hang posters on the wall, and we do this for reading comprehension and circumlocution. You know, traditionally we'll hang, what, 10, 12 posters around the room, put kids in groups of 2. They're walking from poster to poster to poster. We can't do that anymore. Oh, is that your video?
Just a little poster just to show you guys.
Just, you know, we can't do a paper version of this anymore and have kids walk around the room. So we came up with a digital version that you can either do in the classroom or you can assign as a homework assignment to do online that they can turn in via Google Classroom. So you want to click to the next slide. So if you see on this slide here, the first slide is going to be the pictures. So these are the pictures that would have been on the walls traditionally, that now we're going to be in a Google slideshow, and everything in this slideshow are hyperlinked. So we were going to show you an example of one before we put you into breakout rooms.
Okay. So if you go to the website and you click on Around the Classroom, this is the digital activity here. So you would start with the seal.
So when it says start here, you're going to press on the seal. And what you're going to do, when we have you do this in breakout rooms, we want you to keep track of your answers in order from 1 to 12, because the answers are going to have to be in a specific order. And the answer to number 1 is not seal. The answer to number 1, once we clicked on seal, you see it says, I am an animal from the countryside. I eat hay. I am big and can run quickly. I am used to carry people. So what animal is that?
So you would click here.
So you click here.
Go back to your options.
You find a horse, so horse would be the answer to number 1. Then you're going to click on horse, and you're going to read this one, and then you'll get your answer to number 2. Does everybody understand this activity? Because we're going to put you in breakout rooms so you can do it. And as you can see, it says when you are done, click here to record your answers. So make sure you keep track of it on paper, and then that's going to send you to a Google form, and you want to put your answers in order, and then at the end, you'll know if you got it correct or not. Okay, so if we could go into breakout rooms now, so you guys can play. Oh, someone said, I am confused. What if you get it wrong?
It won't let you submit the form. So then you have to go back. It kind of forces the students to go back and reevaluate their answers.
Any other questions? Will it hyperlink you to a different question?
If you get it wrong, no.
No, you just go back to the home page.
It forces you to reread the prompt. So, and of course, this would all be in the target language. So it's all about reading comprehension, circumlocution, all in the target language.
Because at the end of the day, everyone should have completed the circle in the same order. That's how you know if you got it correct.
If we were in the classroom, the students would be moving around in a random order, with the same random order, if that makes any sense. So every student's moving from the seal to the horse if they're doing it correctly.
And yes, you can do a Google form without a Google account. You just can't ask for it to submit email addresses, because if you put in your settings to collect email addresses, then it has to be a Gmail. So if you don't put that in your settings, you should be okay if it's not a Google account.
I would say if you're not a Google school, you should make a Gmail just to access some of the Google tools, because they're so handy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's free. Why not do it? Because there's so many things that you could do like this, like a Google form that really would come in handy and work well with things like this.
And this is just, you know, normally they would be in class, they'd have an answer sheet, they'd walk around, we'd go over it. So essentially this is our way of going over it, where we have the Google form, and then we can assess if they got the answers right. And they can assess themselves as well, because it'll tell them immediately if they got it correct. you want to break out?
Yeah, so Jenny,
About ready.
put them please.
So 6 minutes.
Yes, please.
All right, see you soon.
We'll address the fact that we have to.
Ladies, I requested access to something I have no idea, so.
Yeah, no,
please
we fixed
ignore
it. Sorry about that. We forgot to.
I was on the wrong thing, but we
If
finally
you
got it.
Fixed it.
If you refresh the form, you'll be able to enter it now. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine.
Okay, looks like we're all back.
Awesome. So one of the questions that like we said, we addressed the one form issue. So you should be good to go with that one. One of the questions was, did it take you a long time to create this activity? This particular activity we already had made, so it was a matter of putting it into Google Slides and hyperlinking the images to the slides, the appropriate slides.
So literally, this is the same exact around the classroom that we've presented in the past at conferences in person. All I did was copy and paste the pictures and the paragraphs right into a Google slideshow. And I just put the pictures on the first slide, and then each other slide had a paragraph, and I hyperlinked everything. But what I did was I shuffled the slides of the answers so kids couldn't just click on slides and go in order to try to figure out the correct order.
And the other thing you want to do for this particular activity is push it out as present only. So you change the, when you go to share this particular activity, you change the ending. I don't know if you remember the exact wording. You can look it up. I forget the exact wording.
It's like RM something minimal.
I just know that you can change it. We can look it up and we can let you know later. I'll add it into the drive later. But there's a way that you can change the ending on the share link so that it pushes out only as a view only. So the kids don't have the slides on the side, so they can't see that.
So that way they can't try to cheat, basically. But I mean, if you've already done an activity like this, it's very easy to just throw it into a Google Slides. And like I said, everything's just hyperlinked. I hyperlinked to the form. I don't know if you guys read the directions. We hyperlinked to that. And then here we go. We have our tried and true activity that we love to do, and we could still do it either at home or in the classroom. At home, you could, like I said, you could do it as an independent assignment and put it in Google Classroom, and they would have fun doing something like this. It's different than your basic assignments that you're getting from all your classes.
You know, I really like having the students, you know, use circumlocution, read a description, you know, so that they get used to that kind of vocabulary. All right, any further questions on this one before we move on?
I don't see anything right now, but we can take questions at the end.
Okay, so then we are going to move on. So I have Who Has. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this particular activity before. You've used it. Lots of fun. I like this one a lot as well.
I can't see myself.
Oh, sorry.
So normally we would do it with these, you know, task cards. My task cards are fancier now, as you can see on the screen. And we can't use these anymore because kids cannot touch task cards anymore. So what we did was we figured out a way to do I have Who Has, so that way you don't have to have kids touching different manipulatives. So again, it's in a Google Slides, and all I did was take our I have Who Has activity that we had done in our presentations, and I put them in a Google Slide. Do you want to show a sample of the way it's going to look? So as you can see on the screen here, I made a Google Slide of each task card. So like, I am wearing a belt. Who is wearing boots? I am wearing boots. Who's wearing a coat? I am wearing a coat. Who is wearing a hat? So it's going to go around the same way. So for this one, you can only do it live. You can do it in class. You can do it in a Google Meet or Zoom or whatever you want. But the thing is for this slideshow, and you're setting it up, like I said, exactly like you would set up a normal I have Who Has activity. The only difference is if you see on the left, there's a spot to write your name. So you have to give the students edit access so that they can claim a slide and write their name. And then that's the slide that they're going to be focusing on. So they should have that one open up on their screen, and then they're going to talk and go around the loop like they normally do. And then if you want to play again, you can have them claim a different slide. I shuffled the slides so that way they can't look to see what's ahead of them. So I just did, there's this Google Chrome extension. I think it's called Slide Tools or something. And then there's a button that you can press to shuffle your slides. So I shuffled all the slides so they can't cheat. So what we're gonna do when we practice this with you is we're gonna put you in groups of 15 because there's 15 slides. And on the website, you should see where it says, I have who has.
Yes, so I'm gonna show you that right now. So we're back to the website. I have who has is right up here. You're going to be put into breakout rooms once again. Whatever number breakout room you're assigned, just click on the link so that not everybody that is presently on here is working on the same group of slides.
Yeah, we did this specifically because you're all going to be typing on the slides. And you're going to claim a slide, you're going to write your name on the side, and then when you're all ready, it doesn't matter who starts first because the loop is going to go no matter what. So choose someone to start. I have picture, or I'm wearing picture. What are you wearing? Who's wearing this?
If you have less than 15 people per group, could a couple people just take more than one slide? Like we would in the classroom. That's what we would do. We would give out more than one card until we're out of cards. All right, groups?
Yes.
So Jenny, could you please move them into groups?
Yep, so the groups are about 12 to 13. So someone will have to take an extra card.
Okay, so just make sure that all 15 slides are claimed.
Okay.
Why is this not?
I unmuted you first before you guys were ready, sorry. Everybody's coming back, and we're just about all back.
Could you just play a few slides on, we didn't get that far. We had technical issues to just fill up our slides. Could you just do like 3 so we could see it done?
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Thanks.
Actually,
Oh.
yeah.
Is everybody back yet? Are we still waiting? Everyone's back? Okay, so if you look on the side, you can edit this. All you had to do was just literally click in the text box and start typing. And it automatically formats that way. You don't have to do anything. All I did was I moved the text box sideways, so it works no problem. So each kid in the class would have to put their name on a slide and claim a slide. Now, let's say you have a class that maybe you don't trust them to claim slides. I don't know about you, but in my class, all of my desks are numbered. So every kid has a number pretty much. So you could assign them their numbers and say, okay, you have to put your name on the slide for your number. And then if you shuffle slides, you can play it again and they can still take the same number slide, but have a different slide. So that's if you don't trust that they're going to be able to calmly put their names in the slides. So basically I would start here. I am wearing a belt. Who is wearing boots? So whoever has the slide with boots would then say, I am wearing boots. Who is wearing a coat? And then the person with coat would say, I am wearing a coat. Who is wearing a hat? And then,
and of course, this would all be in the target language.
Of course. And the thing is, we call it I have who has, but I don't like just doing I have who has. I do this with weather. What's the weather in Paris? What's the weather in Canada? What's the weather in New York? I do it with food. Who's eating this? Who's eating that?
Places. Who's going to, I'm going to the bank. Who's going to the library?
You can use it for any tense. Who ate pizza? Who ate chicken? So you can do a lot of different sentence structures here. I don't like to just do I have who has. Honestly, I only do I have who has in the beginning of 7th grade, and then all that changes after that.
I did it once where I did very easy number problems, which got them, they were like, why are we doing math in Spanish class? But it was like, I have 30. Who has, 2 plus 10? So that got them thinking too a little bit differently. That was fun.
But this was really easy to make because all I had to do was take my task cards that are already made up and just put them in a Google slideshow. And the beauty of this is if I were you, if you make this up, I would make your master copy of 30 cards in order. And then let's say you have to do this in different Google Meets with your classes and you have less than 30, you can go ahead and delete those bottom slides if you don't want kids to have 2 slides. If they're shuffled, you can't do that. But if you have a master copy, you can make a copy, you can delete, you can add, you can shuffle, and your master copy is still intact. So that's just an idea if you want to make little changes like that. I mean, do you have anything else in terms of that?
Mike asked a really good question. How should students be viewing this? Well, if you make it so that every student only has one, they can go right into like the presentation mode, and that way they're only looking at their card. But for the most part, I would have them do it like this, in this mode, so that they can, if of course, if they have more than one card, they would need to. It's also,
because remember, if they're in class, the old way, they're holding one card and they're only looking at one card and they don't get to see what everybody else has. So if they're in present mode, it's basically going to be like they're holding one card, and they really have to listen, because if you don't listen, you get caught and you mess up the whole game. So, and you could do it over and over again. It was super simple. It really was not that time consuming to create it all.
now, once you have a template, it's pretty easy to switch things out.
The important thing is that you have to make sure that you click on anyone on the internet can edit, so they can write their name. And that's why it's really important to have a master copy for yourself, and then share the copy of your copy so that it can't mess up your master copy. You don't want them to have editing rights to your master copy.
Okay. Was that a question?
Would it be possible to send these items to kids individually?
Good question. I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure if this can be pushed out individually.
Yeah, that might be complicated.
That's a very techie question. I don't
Yes.
know. I will look into that, and I will see. I'll let you know. If I find out that you can, I'll put it on Twitter. All right. Task cards. I love task cards. Very sad that my whole closet full of stuff, including all my beloved task cards, are not something that I will be able to use anymore. And it was funny because we were creating this, and I put in these 2 videos of one of our favorite activities with task cards, which was musical chairs. And it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to miss my students.
I miss my room so much.
So, I don't know.
Wait, don't pause. I need to see my classroom a little longer. I miss my room.
So yeah, oops. So we used to play musical chairs. We had a lot of fun. And then, anywho,
Definitely can't do this anymore.
no. So back in the day, we used to play music for the students, and I love music. I use music all the time, and it was nice because it also brought me into a little bit of culture with the music and stuff. But they would walk around the room. We had task cards on each desk. When the music stopped, they sat down and they had a piece of paper. The task cards were numbered, and they would complete whatever the task was, and they would write it on their paper. The music would start. And sometimes, they get frustrated because they end up in the same desk again. And, for me, that was kind of funny. Sometimes if we didn't feel like making 30 cards, some of them would be like an explosion, like like missing a turn.
On mine, I had Zoot cards. So if I couldn't do 30 task cards, I would have some random Zoot cards, which were basically lose a turn cards. So they hated those.
So it's always fun to see the students do these type of activities. Sometimes I would just put them in groups, and I would give each group a bunch of different cards, and then they would rotate. So I'm going to miss being able to do those kind of things. But during the spring, I started using boom cards. Have any of you used boom cards before? No? Oh my gosh, boom cards. So much fun.
Okay, well, we need to,
Yes. So here's the caveat.
yes.
We used to always start our presentation by talking about how cheap we are and how we want everything free. But now that we're older, we realize that our time is worth money at this point. If I can pay a couple bucks to somebody on Teachers Pay Teachers and save myself a couple hours of work, I am all about it. So boom cards, I love, and if I can get my district to pay for the subscription this year, awesome. That would be so great. But if I can't, I'm totally going to pay out of pocket for
And
this
we're
one.
going to show you how much it is. And when you look at it for the year subscription, it's really not expensive at all.
It's not,
And so worth it.
Totally worth it. So boom cards are interactive, digital, self-checking task cards. Now, I will say this, there is a learning curve. It will take a little bit of time, but Boom Learning has a ton of, they have a whole bunch of tutorial videos on YouTube, and they walk you step by step on how to do everything.
And I believe you shared the link, right, to the YouTube video?
It's on
the website?
It's on the website, yes. So I created a sample deck for you to look at. You can click on here. It's also on the website for you to take a look. But they're a lot of fun, and the kids really enjoy them. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes to kind of play with it, and then we'll talk about it. I'd rather you experience it first. All right?
What are they doing?
So yeah, so we said put them in groups just so that they can kind of.
Yeah, so you can go in breakout groups, but each open up your own deck of Boom cards. We would have the kids be working on these alone, but work collaboratively and just go through the cards. They're really simple little cards, and you'll know when you're done.
Yep. All right. So like 5 minutes for them to play around with it.
5 minutes. Here you go.
Thank you.
Then I can't see the chat box. This is my life. That's what I said.
All right. I think most people look like they're back, right? So we'd love to hear what you thought.
It's fun.
Yeah. So this one, like we said, it's not free much anyway, but the one that I did make for you guys to try, I did do that with the free one because my free COVID-19 subscription expired. So the one that I made for you guys today, I did do under the free. Okay. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, it is boomlearning.com, and you can take a look. We are not getting paid. We are not, whatever. We just think that it's awesome. So we hope that.
So as you can see, like the basic, if you have 50 students, I don't know, so maybe some of you in smaller districts have 50 or less students. If that's the case, you could do the $15 a year, which is a little over $1 a month. The power, if you have 150 students, $25 for the year. You try it 1 year, you hate it, you don't do it again, And then the ultimate, would give you up to 200 students. So there's different levels of subscriptions, and to take the guesswork out of some of this, I think personally, I would pay the money if we can't convince them to pay for this for our department.
Yeah. So, and like I said, you can use the free because you can do the unlimited fast play, which is what you guys did, where we just gave you a link. But if you want reports, then that's when you got to pay. And I saw in the chat, somebody asked if that was, yeah, that was me. So I'm into app smashing these days, and we'll talk about that later too. Okay. So we have one more to share with you guys. My personal favorite. So at the end of the year, actually one of our coworkers that's on here, Janine, shared with me her survey, and I tweaked it and I sent it out to my students too. What was your favorite thing about in class? What we did in class, and the majority of my students said breakout boxes. So on the top here, I have the pictures of my breakout boxes. There's a bunch of locks, and my students have to work in groups. I give them a folder. There's all these different puzzles, and they have to figure out the different combinations for all the locks. And when they open the box, after they've opened all the locks, they get a prize. So that is my ultimate favorite. When my students walk in and they see the boxes lined up on the front counter, they are so excited. They know that they're going to do something fun. They love it. Of course, we can't do this anymore. So what I started doing over the time that we were out. Oh, these are some of the activities that I've done. Just to kind of give you an idea, you can do anything with Breakout. So for the map, I had them going to different things. So like you buy a book, and they started at the bookstore. And then it was like, okay, you want to go buy flowers. And they knew that they had to go down to the florist. So then their first, directional lock was to go down. Sometimes I had them do an activity with vocabulary, and then certain letters were the letter lock. And then some of them were reading comprehension. They had some questions. For this particular example that I have on here, the answers are numbers, and that was the number lock. You can do pretty much anything. And then, so now I have these done and I can incorporate them into some digital options. So some of the tools that you can use, we're gonna show you two of them. We're gonna go through a quick flippity and one on Google Forms. Breakout EDU has their own digital platform that you can create, and they have pre-made ones too. There's a cost to that. I just this week discovered Deck Toys. Looks awesome. I can't tell you too much about it yet. I do need to learn about it more, but I would say look at that too. But there's also a cost to that one. I'm not sure how much you can do for free.
It was a little pricey though.
It was pricey, but there was some stuff you could do for free. But we need to look into that one more. But for today, flippity.net. So if you know us, you know that we love Flippity. There's so much you could do with Flippity, but today we're just gonna work on, Today we're just gonna work on one of them. So for Flippity, one of the activities that's possible is a scavenger hunt.
So I actually did this when we had our distance learning. I kind of did a combination of this and what we're going to show you after. And the kids had their tasks and they had to unlock the locks. And that confirmed that they had the right answer. And then I had them put the answers in a Google form so I can assess if they had the right answer. And I counted it as a quiz. And same thing in the survey. This was their absolute favorite activity that I did with them the entire time.
So for Flippity, you have to have a Google Drive. You have to have a Gmail, okay? Because everything goes right into your Google Drive, and it's all done on Google Sheets. And they're really good too about having a step-by-step on how to do things. But we're gonna go through this quickly just to kind of give you an idea of what it could look like. So the students would click on a lock. Valerie's so popular today. They click on a lock, and they get a puzzle that they have to solve. So in this one, what has keys but no lock, space but no room, you can enter but not exit. Anybody know the answer? We'll pull it up on the chat. Hey, somebody got it right. Yep. So you can also put in hints. So here's the hint. Are you sure that you want to show the hint? For this one, it's just a picture. So yes. So check it out. Here is the answer. And it makes a little sound. The lock opens. They go back. Hey, the lock is now open. They can go in any order. They don't have to go in number order. So what is butterfly to a Peruvian? And this link,
Jamie got it.
this link takes you in here. I embedded a link to Google Translate so that they can look on there. And then I'm just gonna do the one more. So what's a popular dance in Argentina? And I had my clue was a little clip of Take the Lead. So we know that that is el tango, see? So that is what Flippity looked like. You can put in as many locks as you want. That's what they can pull up later. It's just like a little written thing. And here is my, because I made it public here. So here is my spreadsheet, my Google Sheets with my clues, the hints, the answer, and you get lots of options. You can decide if you want to make case sensitive. Do you want to randomize your clues? You know, what hint warning? So you could change this kind of stuff to the target language. All super cool stuff.
Very easy
a lot
to
of
make
fun.
up.
So you added something different to it to make it work for asynchronous learning. Your Google form. Yes.
Yes, I said that. Yeah, I added the Google form. So I had them do the Flippity because there's no way to assess the locks when you're at home. So I added the Google form. So like I said before, they unlock the lock so they have confirmation that it's correct. And then they go answer the same questions in the Google form. I count it as a quiz, and it's like it auto assesses itself. And that's how I know that they got the right answers, because it's going to be the same answers.
I came across somebody who was doing digital breakouts, and I decided to copy what they did. So I built this Google site that I pushed out to my students with a couple of puzzles. I would like you to take a look at it before we even talk about it. So if you would please go to the website, click on digital breakout. There are four puzzles, yes. And then there's a form in where you would input your answers. Jenny, if you would please put them into their groups, and this will be our last activity for today.
third of the way there. And it looks like we're all back.
You gotta mute your Zoom. When you go back.
Oh, and I got to turn off the video.
All right, ladies.
All
Hard to
right.
manage the two computers.
So we want to hear what you guys thought of that last one, because that one, I know people either love it or they hate it. I personally love breakouts. I much prefer the physical box, but
See, I hate the physical box.
I
I much
know.
prefer the digital version. And it's really easy to set up. It really is.
So it was tricky. Okay. What I do want to share with you guys, I found online, a bunch of different things that you could do, you can use to make digital breakouts. I did include on the website the ones that I chose for this particular breakout so that you can go in and like the matching and the rebus and the jigsaw puzzle. I thought it was cool. My students had a good time. But yeah, somebody brought up that it could get frustrating sometimes with like case sensitive and stuff like that. So on the forms, I do, there's a way that you can put in like a hint if they get something wrong. So I did kind of give them just reminder like, oh, this should be in all caps or this should be all lowercase or something along those lines. And like I said, you could use anything. I wanted to put in that little YouTube video with the multiple choice so you could see it could be anything. It doesn't have to be something super fancy that you create to make these breakouts, but it just adds another element of fun. The kids really enjoy having that, just something different. It's not just a worksheet. It's not something that they do every day. It's just kind of fun to throw in every now and again.
And when I did this while we were doing our distance learning, I didn't do crazy puzzles and stuff. At that point, I was tired. I'm tired of recreating new things all the time. It's something new. So I said, how can I incorporate something that I would have used in class and make it fun? So I took some basic things that I would have done in class and turned it into this flippity breakout box. And they just loved unlocking the little locks. And then they put it in the Google form. And what I do is if it marks it wrong in the form because it was case sensitive, I just go back and give them the points anyway. So I always went and looked at the wrong answers to make sure they were actually wrong or if it was something like that, because I didn't want to penalize them for that.
Absolutely. So we want to be respectful of your time as well. So I know we kind of went over, but I hope that you guys enjoyed it and that you got some new ideas from this, at least one. I see, Bill, I'm not sure if the paid version of that particular matching would make the ads disappear. I'd have to look at that. But I figured the ads that they were showing were.
Do we want to unmute people to ask questions?
Sure,
So we can have Jenny, can you unmute everyone and for us?
So they can unmute as they want, or they can raise their hand and we can unmute them one at a time just to avoid the feedback issues. I see, let's see, I see Michelle first.
No, I was trying to mute myself.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody have any questions for us about any of the activities we did today?
I have a question.
Marie, go ahead.
For the Boom Learning, when you pay for the subscription, all the activities are already made, or do we have to make it ourselves?
No, so you have an option. You can either make your own, or they do have a store where you could shop. And a lot of people they post it in that store, and they also post them on Teachers Pay Teachers. And if you buy something on Teachers Pay Teachers, and a lot of Teachers Pay Teachers authors do offer free Boom cards, which is nice. They provide you the link, and once you click it, it is in your library of things to use. So it's super easy.
I purchased some. I didn't make any myself yet. So I purchased a couple from Teachers Pay Teachers, and I also got some free ones as well. And it was like $1.50. I mean, it was really cheap. And now I have that set forever.
Yeah. So, as much as we would love to get everything free, or we want to create things from scratch, like we said, and somebody said it too, family time is important, especially with all of the work that we're going to be doing now, all the unknowns that we're going into. Sometimes your time is worth a couple dollars, in my opinion.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Miriam?
I was just saying I was putting my thumbs up to say that you made a good point about sometimes it is worth a few dollars, especially as you do things for a long period of time. It can be exhausting, and sometimes it's good to save yourself some effort,
Absolutely.
then you have more time for creativity.
I think Anne had a question. You had your hand up.
I appreciate all the advice you're giving and the kind of leads on how to get into these. It was great. I appreciate it. Thank you. The Animoji, I know you just kind of had recorded one, Wendy. That looked pretty cool. I've been using Blabberize, where the kids can like put in dots on their mouths on like any picture, so they can make like an animal talk or whatever. Because some of our kids are not going to want to show their bedrooms to the whole class, or they don't want to do makeup and hair that morning or whatever. Do you just have a minute to go over that real quick, please?
On how I did the Animoji?
Yeah, was it easy? Like,
Oh, well, I have an iPhone. So what I did was, I have an iPhone and I have a MacBook. So what I did was, I texted myself a video. I created the Animoji video on my phone. I texted it to myself. I uploaded it to YouTube. And then from YouTube, I put it into Boom Cards. So there's a couple steps involved, but once you've done it, it really, it sounds a lot more complicated and time consuming than it is. It really is not that complicated whatsoever.
right, because the
So
kids need to learn what we look like, if anything, too.
Yeah, you know what, I wanted something fun. I figured they get engaged on silly things like that.
Yeah.
So
Cool, thank you.
So I think to wrap it up, a couple of things that come to mind for me, that you should always remember. I know I can't speak for Valerie, I can only speak for myself. The spring for me was so crazy stressful. And I felt like everybody was throwing things at us like, here's a free trial, and here's a free trial, and here's a free trial.
Everybody gets a free trial.
And in the beginning, I was like, oh my God, I want to try all the things. And then I was so crazy overwhelmed, and I was working crazy hours, and it became nuts. It became stressful for me. My students were like, oh, here's something new that she's trying. And some of them really embraced it and enjoyed it. And some of them felt a little overwhelmed. And I know I was feeling overwhelmed. So some of the things that I learned along the way that I need to constantly remind myself is keep it simple. Because even Valerie and I were like, okay, we're going to present. All right, cool. We're going to keep it simple. And then I'm building Google Sites. So, I have to kind of remind myself sometimes, keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't be afraid to try new things, but not in the way that I did in the spring, where I felt like I needed to try everything. Space it out. App Smash to me was a lot of fun, kind of like the Animoji, and then, putting it into YouTube and putting it into something else. In the spring, I started using Powtoons, and I made videos with Powtoons, and I did the same thing. I would put it into YouTube, and from YouTube, I put it into Kahoot. I didn't know you could do that from Kahoot. I learned that in the spring. So you could put a video into Kahoot, and then I had them answer some questions. So I made a silly little thing. So app smashing to me was fun. Patience, not only with the students, not only with the technology, but I felt like I needed to give myself a break too. I felt like I had these crazy expectations, and I felt like I had to be at a certain, level, and I had to do things a certain way, and I had to be so perfect. And it's hard to let that go. So that for me is, I need to learn patience for myself. Self-care, step away from the computer. There were days that I was at the computer by 7:30 in the morning, and like 10 or 11, my husband was like pulling the laptop away from my hand. So as we embrace this new adventure, remember to practice a little self-care and step away from that computer also. But have fun. This is why we do what we do, right? We enjoy going to that classroom and having fun. And even though things are going to be different and we're going to the unknown, just remember to have fun. Yeah. I don't know. But that's all I have to say. I don't know if you want to add anything.
I think you pretty much said what needed to be said.
So if anybody has anything else that they would like to add, we'd love to hear from you guys.
Someone said, my favorite is Charlala plus Quizlet to create activities where the student drawings are the answers students can choose from.
That's cool. You know what? I
Anna
haven't
said
tried
that. Anna Cartwright said
I'm going to write that down. I haven't tried Charlala. I keep meaning to do so. All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Val and Wendy. I think
you
we've
guys
all
for
learned so much.
We appreciate the invitation. We hope you guys had a good time and got something out of this.
These two just step up to every challenge we throw at them, because like I said, this was not the original topic, and look at them going above and beyond, and already ideas for those first few weeks back at school in this brand new world that we are living in today. Thank you again to everybody who attended. I already put the evaluation link in the chat box for you to evaluate the session while it's still fresh in your head. And after the conference, you'll complete your CTLE hours if you need them. That Google form is in the email that you receive for final reminders for the conference, as well as in the shared drive. And we'd love to see you this afternoon for the Uncon at 3 o'clock. If you missed anything prior to this, the recordings, you've received notifications when they're available if you want to watch them again. And there's still social media where you can tweet out and talk with everyone online. Thank you for coming. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you.